Chris Johnson, one of the fastest running backs in NFL history, shattered records throughout his career.
80-yard run.
So fast, he earned the nickname CJ2K.
Chris Johnson is going to have a Titans touchdown.
He retired in 2017 and has been out of the spotlight. But today, he is sharing something deeply personal.
You've chosen to share some personal news today, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage to share it. What would you like for people to know?
First, I want people to know that I'm still me. ALS has changed what my body can do, but it hasn't changed who I am.
In 2025, at the age of 39, Johnson was diagnosed with ALS. The disease progressing so rapidly that he now uses his eyes to trigger a speech-generating device to speak.
Why do you want to share this now?
Because if sharing my story helps even one person get diagnosed sooner, inspires more research, or gives another family hope, then it's worth it.
Johnson says he was in the prime of his life, working out daily and running errands with his 4 children until ALS changed everything.
Let's go back to last year. When did you notice that something was off?
I first noticed weakness in my right hand. At first, it was little things like my grip didn't feel right, and I wasn't as strong as I've always been.
His wife, Brittany, thought it was something much simpler.
Brittany, what did you think it was at the time?
I thought because of football and, his career, that it had to be something with that, maybe a pinched nerve or something along those lines, but never ALS.
And what did doctors tell you initially about your condition?
We hoped it was something else, but after thorough testing, they finally came down with a diagnosis of ALS. They told us about a medication that might extend life by a few months. Then they told us to get our affairs in order. It was hard hearing that, but after watching Good Morning America and seeing Dr. Merritt with Eric Dane, we reached out to her. She was willing to think more creatively, offering experimental treatments that might help and advance research.
Dr. Merritt Sikovich is a neurologist and leading ALS researcher at Mass General Brigham Neuroscience Institute.
Chris has been on standard of care, which is about 3 different medications that slow down the illness, but he was also part of a clinical trial, a therapy that decreases inflammation, and I think that helped him a lot.
With no family history of ALS, doctors believe his is a case of sporadic ALS, the most common form of the disease, affecting about 90% of patients, occurring randomly in people with no known family history of ALS.
That's one of the reasons this disease can be so shocking. It can happen to someone who never expected it.
And for me, it's shocking. It's hard to process it for me because I know you, Chris, from just the incredible athlete that you are. How do you process it?
Honestly, I don't know if you ever fully process it. At first you're in shock, then you realize you have 2 choices. You can give up or you can fight. I chose to fight.
What we just watched, a case of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, is one of the reasons why we can't play with people that love us. We can't play with things like prayer and spirituality. And what I mean by that is, as a medical doctor, this is one of the conditions that currently have no known cure. But even more interesting than that is no known cause. So it's the type he was diagnosed with is called a sporadic type, which means we don't know why it happened. And that is what happens in 80% of cases. 20% of the cases, people, you can say there's a genetic component. Somebody in the family once had it and it showed up. But even in those 20% of cases, we don't still know why it happened. We just know there's a genetic component that could explain why it's there. And then there's no known treatment. So the best you can do for this patient, is to manage the person as they deteriorate till their ultimate demise. The longest the person can stay with ALS, slightly above 10 years. But on the average, it's 2 to 4 years on the average. This video is so inspiring because to me, it's a story of love. That's his wife right beside him. And the man you're looking at, see his hair is well made. His weight is still a bit intact. He's being fed properly. His mind is still sharp. He still has something to live for. the people he loves, his wife and his kids. You know, the way we treat people who love on us is what energizes them. You know, this man didn't do anything to deserve what's happening to him. I would say, especially if you have a problem that does not have a known cause. You know, so you can't say this in your lifestyle created this, or this is something I randomly picked. You can pick anybody. It can be there are other conditions that look like this one. You know, and we're in life. We don't know what it is that will befall any of us at any time. What we can do is to live and love, you know. And then when it's time for us to now depend on other people, we hope that we did enough, you know, when you're married to somebody, you're dating somebody, love on them. You know, if you find out you can't love somebody properly, you let them go. Look at this woman. You know, she's the reason why, I don't know if his parents are involved. I don't know if his parents are still alive. I'm just wondering in my head, you know, the man can't move his limbs. He's bathing, he's taking a shit, he's feeding, everything. From this moment you saw this video, of course, way before you saw this video, till forever, till he dies, he will not be able to do anything for himself. He's going to depend on the people who love him. You know, who are the people he loved. So you can't mistreat your wife. Or miswife, you can't mistreat your husband. You know? We are all healthy right now. I would assume some of us who are watching this, we're healthy right now, and we have the opportunity every day to show love to our partner, show love to our sibling, show love to our neighbor, show love to our friends. You know, love on them so hard. You know, sometimes it's what you give that you get back in return. You don't know where life will take us, and you don't stop loving people. It's so unpredictable, this whole thing called life. You know, don't know when nobody knows when they will go out, how they will go out. You can only live and love. You know, and loving people it feels good when you give. Loving, giving, you know, feels good. The person who is on the receiving end feels a certain way. You that is also on the giving end, you know. It's just sometimes survival these things, sometimes negative influences, sometimes misinformation, mixed information, too much information can constitute mental poison to where we now lose track of why we're even here in the first place. This was very humbling for me as a doctor, you know, and we see cases like this. It just reminded me that then prayer too. You know, I usually believe prayer is one way you can create. This is somebody who can call unlucky. You know, because randomly, the man didn't do anything to deserve this. Any known thing to deserve this. You know, this is now somebody. I look at his age. The average age for this is 60 years old, 50 years old. But this man got it at 29, 30. So this is really, really, really a case of somebody being unlucky. You know, so I hope that prayer helps us control that uncertainty of life. It does, it really does. It's not even about any religion right now. If you're practicing something, don't just have affiliation with the religion because of affiliation's sake. Do things that will help your own life. If you're doing something that's not helping you, you know inside you, you know. Somebody define religion as a search for God. You know. To better that definition, I'll say it's a search for ourselves. You know, we want to be able to control the outcomes of our lives as much as we can. You know, and there's a supreme being that we now know, or some of us know, has influence over the things that happen here. You know, and relating with him and to him and hoping that our outcomes will be overall better. You know, so an attempt in that direction is not, because again, when medicine fails you, some of these arguments about leave this thing, you take it to who told you God is real, God is not real. These arguments start and stop when science stops. When we tell you in the hospital there's nothing you can do and there's something that can be done anywhere in the world. Right now, we are hitting him with drugs that are in trial, because you don't have time to confirm anything to now use. You know, every day of this man's life is important. so, it's so touching for me. It happens to me all the time when I see cases like this, terminal cases. It's a terminal neurodegenerative disease, which means it ends in demise, and progressively on a daily basis, the person loses function until a lot of people don't know that breathing is controlled from the brain, but there are muscles that control respiration. The biggest one is the diaphragm, it's under the chest. When it expands you breathe in, draws in, and then you breathe in. Then it flattens out again, you breathe out, it draws in. Anytime that muscle collapses, life ends there. And that's where this one will end. When the muscles of respiration fail. So it's so unfortunate. Of course, other things have led to other people's demise, but my takeaway from this is a story of love for me. That woman who's by his side is thank God he had somebody, By the time you're watching this video, this video was made one time. Nobody knows when the video was recorded. He's going through it right now. He's alone by himself with whoever it is that loves him. Dependent completely on the person. He's just looking. He can't move his limbs. After a certain point, his coordination, his thinking faculties were affected as well. And the man didn't do anything to deserve this. So I don't know. I don't know what we can get, what some of us who watch, God forbid, but man, love your neighbor, love your wife, love your kids, love your siblings, love your friends with action love, not words. Of course, you can offend people if there's need, but show them you love them, show every opportunity you get, show them. You don't know how long you'll be here. We're supposed to love each other so much that we form the habit of loving before we need it. So apart from banking in your partner so much before you need to withdraw that love, we love on each other so much back and forth. We now become lovers, and that's all we know how to do before we now need. Again, you're going to take care of a partner who will not get better, who progressively, and then until his demise. And this person is not just sick, they are completely handicapped. So you're supposed to stop everything you're doing in your young life, and this person cannot even communicate with you except through the eyes. And after a while, the disease is progressive, is neurodegenerative. In other words, the person keeps losing functions that are controlled by the brain. And ultimately, the brain function itself, coordination, thinking, articulation. And then this person is still there, alive, just to clean the person. And they are aware of your presence. They can feel the love or the hate or whatever it is that comes from you, but they're not able to express themselves. Almost like a person tied inside their body. So you're looking at your partner and they are pouring love, and you're saying thank you, but you can't say it verbally. Very humbling experience for anybody to even watch. It's humbling to watch.